around.
Yeah, it's the ones. It's a pretty good league they have. And I think they can play till they're 22.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Because I think that was the thought here was, like you just said, they get out of prep school or high school, and then they got somewhere to play before college. But it seems like most girls, once they get out of high school, they're ready. They want to go to college.
yeah. Well, I think Ontario, the junior is the big thing. That's where they go to college from, and
Yeah.
not from the U18.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I tried to recruit this one girl, and she's now one of the biggest models in the world, I guess. I see her picture all the time.
Well, there you go.
She's quite the good looker. She was a goaltender.
All right, she made her choice, right? And, at the end of the day, as long as it works out for the kids.
Yeah, she played in Ontario in the junior.
They say everybody falls out for a different reason at some level, but that's an interesting one I had not heard before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, the girls like to play, and they travel by bus and everything. It's pretty high organized. That's what Derek coaches in, Wally. Coaches in that junior league.
But do they travel by bus?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's just like the U18 and all that. But they're not affiliated with Girls Hockey Calgary, the league. Well, it's all over the province.
Yeah. Well, I watched a pro game last night. I went to practice the day before.
Yeah.
I was blown away by the skill level. It was unbelievable. The skill level, Tom, watching them, I'm trying to imagine one player making a pro team from all the players I've watched.
You just
Elite.
watch Cryway. She's
Well,
going to be. She's a
oh,
first.
I've seen her play, and she looks very good in your league. But when you see these girls and the size of them and the skill level, it's you got to watch it to try to gauge where they might be.
Yeah, well, and I've coached girls out of, and she's going to be something. She's only 13 years old, so there's a lot of development left here.
Yeah. Well,
compared to them yet.
Just a line that Blair Magacy, and I think it applies to what you're saying. Blair Magacy used to scout from Minnesota.
Yeah.
And he scouted for the national program. When he was at Minnesota, the American League scouts never got to watch the National League camps. And he felt that until you've seen the National League camp and been involved in that evaluation process, it's really hard to gauge. To project that a player is going to get to that level. Like these girls, they're professionals. They're doing it full time, and their fitness level and their size is incredible. I think there are a few people that are 5'4", but there's a lot that are more like 5'8" to 5'10", and I would guess 150 pounds might be an average weight. Some are 175, but they're fit. It's stuff I saw them do at practice, skills and the bouncing the puck around with their sticks. It's everything I've seen guys do, but blew me away. In the game last night, Howie Draper was on one bench, Carla on the other, and Peter Howie was the leading female coach in Canada that won a number of national championships. He's coaching in New York. And Carla coached at the University of Calgary. She played 2 Olympic teams. And she played for me as a 15-year-old in the Oval Olympic program, preparing for the Olympics. So
we at SAIT, we did a lot of specialty team scrimmage with her team when she was at the Edge, then at UFC.
Yeah. but there was a lot of growing pains in those edge years relative to, she talked about it and her parents talked about the entitlement of kids and expectations for their kids versus earning roles and learning habits and developing work ethic. It took her a long time, 4 years, to develop her program. And
Oh, yeah, well, you go to the edge, you're dealing with parents that have a lot of money too, eh?
yeah,
Costs them
no,
a lot of just to send them to those places.
yeah.
It's a sports school.
I got a question, Tommy, you might know. You have a number of kids that played for you in AA that went to the States to Div 3 schools.
Yeah.
I don't imagine they got free rides. Do you know?
No, I think, isn't that Div 3, can they get a grant and aid, Peter?
You get, you get financial aid, based on your parents' income tax returns.
Yeah, and that
So,
goes all 4 years. It's not.
yeah, yes, yeah, you can get some
Most of these
financial
kids,
aid.
their parents were quite a bit of money. I don't know if, I'm thinking of that, my veterinarian, his daughter went. And she went to either Div 3 or what's the other one? Is it ACHA or something?
Well, ACHA is club hockey. I coached Division II, which gave academic scholarships as well, based on your GPA. So
Okay.
there's some of that. There's other awards that you can get, financial awards based on all based on your academics. Those awards are need blind. Like even if your parents could afford the whole thing, if you were, I think the top award back when I did it, the top award when you were like I think it was 3.6 and up, you could get 18,000.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have got it for 3 cents.
Me either. But so there's those types of awards. Division III is a little different. I think it's more strict financial aid based, but I'm sure there are some awards too, like like a president's award, or some alumni donates to a specific program and says, sets a parameter, and if you fall in that parameter, perhaps you can get that award as well.
Okay. Yeah, like the ones that played AA, they aren't going to go Div 1. Some of the AAA U18s went Div 1 from Calgary. But I had one girl that went Div 3 and set records in scoring and everything, Tess Adams. She did really well. I think she might even be coaching there now.
Do you know where she played?
Was in the East there. I can't think of where.
I can maybe look it up real quick, see if it's right.
Tom, your friend who coached in a prep school, he's done a lot of international conferences. And he's a games-like teacher. Was it Middlebury School?
Yeah, Bill Beanie in Middlebury.
Yeah, he's is a legend. So that Tess Adams you were talking about?
Yeah.
Did she come from Banff Hockey Academy? Is that possible?
Yeah, probably spent there.
Yep. She's SUNY Canton for 3 years, and then Suffolk University, which is outside of Boston, for a year, and then played a little bit Connecticut Whale, but she could put the puck in the net. She scored a lot of goals.
Yeah, she was also the only Div 3 player drafted by that Pro Women's League. I remember reading that.
Yeah, 67 goals in 100 games.
Yeah.
Over a point a game she averaged, would throw the assists in there.
Yeah, she did pretty well.
Yeah.
It's funny, I recommended her to the state coach here. And I had this big girl that could shoot the puck, but that's about all she did well. And he recruited her instead. And I said Tess was a much better player, but that's, some people love size. Tess
Yeah,
was,
well, that's that old overused saying, right? You can't teach size.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was good if size can skate too.
Well, that's the difference today. When the broadcast I was doing, that's one of the things we were talking about and noted that it used to be when you were really big, you were big, you're a big body out there, you took up space. Maybe
Yeah.
you were a little tough to go around because of your girth and your size. But now the 6'7" guys, 6'5" guys, they can all skate pretty well. They get around the sheet pretty well.
Yeah, well, that's a big difference, I think, is there's so much training. Like I watched, we did this camp last year. A lot of the teams were trained with the skating coach,
Yeah.
and that was in start of July, and that never happened before.
Right.
Like I coached this kid, he got 81 goals, 81 assists a year that Daig was the first overall. He outscored Daig by like 40 points. And he major junior is a top scorer in major junior hockey, Western Player of the Year. Never even went to NHL camp. They said, he can't skate. All he can do is get goals and assists. Nowadays, they'd have him with a skating coach, and they just didn't do it then.
Yeah, interesting how they would just write somebody like that off when, all I can do is get goals and assists. Well, it's kind of what they're looking for.
Well, he was a 1-second player. He got 81 assists too.
Yeah.
He knew where everybody was as soon as he got the puck. He'd touch the puck right to them, and they'd have bang-ins, and then he shot like Lanny McDonald. He was a right-handed shot. He could put that puck right under. It was absolutely unstoppable. I used to love watching him in practice because in the drills, I bet you he scored 80% of the times. Like when he shot, the puck went in the net. It just, I'd never been on the ice with anybody that scored like that, or maybe Danny Heatley about the closest. But yeah, his daughter's playing league I'm coaching in now.
Nice.
A team that doesn't do very well.
Was he able to be around it a little bit, or?
I don't really know much about what they do, because don't practice at the same time.
Gotcha.
I tried to get them to do some of those specialty team scrimmages with me, but the coach wasn't interested. It's kind of nice to have another team and you can practice, take
Sure.
turns
Sure.
and on the power play and different things.
Yeah, sounds pretty mutually beneficial.
Yeah, I did. Well, Carla, that when she was at the Edge End at University of Calgary, we did that with her. And, I always found that really good to do. But you got to get a dance partner.
Yep. Yep, you're right. Otherwise, it's just pantomime.
So what's the atmosphere around that Ottawa team, Wally? What's it like?
Well, it's pretty tense because they haven't won, that many games. So last night's game was very interesting because they could have been up 3 goals in the first period, and they outplayed them in the first, and in the second it was fairly even, but in the third, New York, I thought, dominated, but they managed to pull it out. And being with the mom and dad of the head coach and sitting with them in the stands, the fans are incredible. Like Tom, it's more fan support than the Flames. They're dedicated. They make so much noise, and they're standing up and hollering and chanting and cheering. And there was about 7,000 people at the game, and the rink will hold 9 maximum, but there was a ice freeze warning in Ottawa because the temperature was up and there was supposed to be a dramatic freeze. So they didn't fill the building, but the support here is really good. Atmosphere is incredible. And just to be walking around the players and going to the parent room after and mingling with people. Brian Burke is the representative the Players Association of the Female Hockey League. He was in the meeting room that everybody gathers at after the game. It's sort of a VIP lounge, and of course, being associated with Carla, we got to join them and hobnob a little bit. But the atmosphere is good. I don't know about the fan support in the American cities. Minnesota's been about 2,500 in the last game. And I know that they projected Ottawa to be, they wanted them to be sort of a 3,000 was a break even point, but they're averaging like 65. And if weather's good, they'll sell out. So people are crazy about it in Ontario.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
So,
Cassie went to Toronto for a day, like earlier in the week. They flew her in, and I think it was some new chief executive of Walmart or something. I think he's from Japan or somewhere, I don't know where. But he wants to get into the Canadian culture, so they flew her in to take him on the ice and teach him how to skate. So she was there a day and then flew back. So it was real quick. I don't know if she's going to do more of that or what.
no, it's really interesting with the pro league, and you're talking about that player who got drafted. I couldn't imagine how many good players there are, but after watching two teams play last night and watching Carla's team practice, boy, you multiply that times the number of teams they have, and they're coming up and they're preparing for their draft.
Yeah.
Carla talked to me about the draft process and what they're looking for, and I think the one thing she needs is a goal scorer, and they don't grow on trees.
No.
But I don't know if Peter or you or Tom have listened to Brett Hull's podcast when he talks about his background and playing minor hockey. He really didn't want to play higher levels, but he loved to score. He hated to practice. He just loved to score. He tells his story about playing with the Flames and being traded and playing with different players that could get him the puck and allow him to shoot. But how do you, looking at your team, do you have anybody you call a natural goal scorer?
Our number 16, she was, we took her because she could handle a puck and score. Her skating was really weak. Now she's one of our best skaters. The last month, she's been our top scorer. She got a pass the last game, shot from just inside the ringette line, went in and out. The referee didn't even see it go in, he said. She's got the knack. Some people got the knack.
Yeah.
If she shoots, there's a really good chance she's going to score. She just doesn't shoot to shoot.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's by far the most natural one that we got.
You know what you said, doesn't shoot to shoot. That's a powerful statement because that's all shooters do. Scorers don't.
Yeah.
They score.
Well, I remember one game with Danny used to play with us all the time, Heatley. And we had a rule he had to get 2 assists for every goal. So, of course, they weren't even covering him after he got his goal. They knew he had to pass. And I said, Danny, why don't you just shoot for a rebound? I'll go for the net. And it was almost like he started shaking. He just couldn't imagine shooting not to score. And that's, I think, his mindset. It was really funny reaction. He just, no way he wanted to shoot for a rebound. He didn't want to learn how to hit the goalie. So
great mindset. Great mindset. And I think that's the word mindset means more than we understand. And you heard that term, Peter, and it seems to be the thing of our age right now. I don't know how many years, maybe 3 or 4, that it's sort of a catchword to describe uh, being able to accomplish something and excel at something. It's all about your mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. And it's funny you're talking about you're shooting the score. Never really kept track of it, but just think about in the course of a game the number of times a player shoots into the goaltender's stomach.
Oh, yes.
Right? Right. Like I'd rather let nick off the shoulder, go over that shoulder. Maybe the guy gets goalie gets a blocker on it, or you just miss on that side. Drives me nuts when you have some type of a scoring opportunity and it's in the goaltender's stomach.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah, but it is the mindset. You're right. I mean, that's at the end of the day, anything we accomplish in a positive way or negative, I guess, depends upon what your mindset is and what you're willing to do, right? Like just like motivation, you can be motivated to do something. Yeah, I'm gonna have a good practice. But if you're not dedicated past that motivation and able to do it, disciplined enough to do it every single day, right? So that's got to be your mindset, right? Your mindset, you're motivated. Now your mindset has to be the discipline to do that every single day. And I think that's where players fall off, and you'll have that player tell, yeah, I just wasn't feeling it today. Well, that's terrible. Don't tell me that. How are you not feeling it?
Yeah.
I think it's
Well,
just an excuse.
today's the anniversary of the golden goal, where Crosby scored that goal, I think, at Salt Lake. So there's a little blurb where they interviewed him when he's like 13 or something like this. And they show him working out in his house with the puck, flipping it in the air, catching it, then shooting, and holes in the wall, and the dryer's all wrecked, and everything downstairs is destroyed almost because he went down and he just shot pucks and shot and shot and shot. And, and McDavid used to do it on his driveway, going over obstacles in rollerblades, eh? And the Toronto guy, what's his name, scoring all the goals from Arizona.
Oh yeah, Austin Matthews.
Yeah, he'd go to the roller rink and spend all day and wait for guys to come and ask if they were short of players and play with them. And there's people that do stuff on their own.
Right. Well, the story too about like Bedard taking a bucket of pucks with him on vacation so he could still shoot pucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, you're motivated, but are you disciplined past that motivation? That's the difference maker.
Yeah. And I say to my players, we can show you the technique, but we don't have time at practice for you to get thousands of shots in. So it's up to you. If you want to be a player, you've got to put in the time.
Sure.
Especially all the stick skills and shooting.
Yeah, 100%. Kyle Wanvig's U13 team over the holidays, he tasked them to challenge them to get 1,000 shots over the holidays. And that number sort of became it affected their mindset. They had the 1,000 in their mind. So whether they were going to do 100 one day or 200 one day, but I watched them when they practiced after the break, Christmas break, they are rifling the puck.
Yeah. Well,
Every
that would really be something in girls hockey, eh?
Yeah. So I had a parent come up to me while I was watching one of the games that said we should give up a day of dryland training for shooting training and shooting practice. And what do you think about that, Tom? Like you have one dryland a week?
Yeah, well, I think that'd be a lot more beneficial to them. A lot more hockey specific. I don't really agree with weight training during the season. One time a week, I mean, that's not enough. I'd really rather see them, like, our hockey camp that we did. We
Yeah.
had one session, there's an outdoor pad on the rink we had there, Peter.
Yeah.
And went there for an hour 15 and they practiced shooting and puck handling and stuff like that outside on the outdoor pad.
Yeah, when I was at the university, I repurposed an old squash court where I went and I got went to Home Depot and got some electrical conduit and bought some netting and built a shooting room. And that was really good. That paid dividends.
Oh, sure. Baseball's had it for years, right?
Yeah, exactly. They had the other squash court set up with their
Yeah.
batting cage. Yeah.
Yeah, racquetball is something that really died. There's so many racquetball courts that never get used now. They're,
Yeah.
real possibility there, but it would be really beneficial for, to have a place people could shoot.
Tom, did you ever shoot dryland shooting at all? Lots of deliberate practice?
Yeah, I used to do that all the time. Well, as soon as we woke up and had breakfast, my mom would say, time to go out and play. So you had to figure out things to do. So we either played catch and ball, or else like I used to get golf balls because I played a lot of baseball too. And I throw the golf ball against a wall and field it. I was an infielder. So all those kind of things on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's changed too, right? 'Cause, I was brought up the same way, obviously come summer and weekends, you have breakfast and then they threw you outside and that was it. Like you weren't coming back in.
Yeah. We had 8 people in a 2-bedroom house with a basement. So they, they wanted to clear it out as quick as possible.
Yeah, we were fortunate. We had a bit of property, so, and I still have it. I still have it actually on the side of the house. I refurbished it, an old brass bell that my mother had. And when she wanted us, she would just ring the brass bell.
Yeah.
Be it for lunch or you were outside and she knows you hadn't cleaned your room. She'd ring the bell, haul you back in, then you could go back outside. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a different world for sure.
Sure was.
We have such parks here, just unbelievable parks compared to when I grew up in Calgary. I saw a sign. Somebody put on Facebook a sign, Calgary 1957, 268,000 people. It's 1.4 million right now.
Wow.
But our recreation facilities were crappy. Where there was the only indoor rink in Calgary was the one the pros played in. Everything was outdoor. And, our fields and that weren't very good. And now the fields, everything, we have about 60 arenas. I played an incredible one last night, our practice. And I never see a game of touch football outside or scrub baseball, or the only thing you'll see teams practicing, but kids just making their own game and playing is a little bit of basketball. But, I drive by these empty parks all the time.
Yeah, it's the same here, especially like you're saying, like with baseball, lacrosse. If the kid's not wearing a uniform, they're not out there. They're not just a bunch of kids who grab them together and let's go down to the park.
Yeah, well, I know get on the phone and call guys, and we need to play, touch football or
Yeah.
baseball or all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you just don't see kids organizing their own thing. Everything's adult centered.
Yep.
And the ones that can afford it have their kids pretty busy, but a lot of people, they don't have the money to, especially hockey. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I wish they'd ban people breaking sticks during games when they're mad. The poor mothers see they see the heroes breaking sticks when they miss a net or something. So if the kid does that, and that's like a week's groceries to replace that stick. And they should talk to the NHLers about, don't do that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a valid point because what they, there's that old saying, what the eye sees, the eye buys. So they see that, they're buying into it, so.
Yeah. No, I've just heard some parents talking about, how the hell am I gonna buy me kid another stick? It's,
I got a question about sticks, you guys. Um, I think, Tom, you and I were the wood stick generation.
yeah,
We could use a stick for a whole season for $7, maybe, or less. But I'm watching so many games and watching sticks break. And last night, Carla's team was up 2-0, and their defenseman stick shattered, got hit. It was a shot from point, broke her stick, puck
yeah.
laid there, and the other team scored. Is this deliberate? Are companies building these sticks so they break, so they can make money? Because obviously, technology today, you should be able to, with that kind of an last the season. So I'm suggesting that this might be a planned way of marketing, selling more sticks is weakening them.
Well, I think they have that whip point, and I think it's thinner, bends and all this kind of stuff. But like Murray says, like Danny took him and his brother and Murray down to Mexico, where Sherwood has a factory or something.
Yeah.
And they asked, what does it cost for you to make a stick? Those $350 sticks?
Yeah.
$17 about is their cost. So it's at a 2,000% markup. So yeah, they certainly should last a little better than they do.
Yeah.
But it's the lighter, the lighter and more usable you make it, right? You sacrifice the durability.
Yeah, for sure.
But it seems to me the science of metallurgy, it should be lighter but unbreakable. I don't know.
They're made out of that
About-
fiberglass or whatever it is. It's,
Yeah.
As soon as they make the 500,000 mile car, then we know we're on the right track. Because that's a little bit of planned obsolescence too, right there.
it's called a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, yeah.
Are they guaranteed for life or something?
Are they? Yeah.
Well, they used to be. I don't know. That's what I used to hear.
I mean, I've got a little over 200,000 miles on my Honda little pickup truck, and I don't want to sell it, but I also want to be around another 15, 20 years, so I don't really know how that's going to work out.
Yeah. Both unpredictable things.
True story.
So, Tom, you play Thursday and Sunday, right?
No. We play tonight,
Yeah.
Thursday, and then Saturday.
Saturday.
And then if need be a game Sunday back in Okotoks.
Okay.
So that'd be interesting. They got a big strong team that just throws it to the net and creates chaos and whacks pucks in. And they've got one super goal scorer and another pretty good player.
Yeah. She, her name, I believe, is Samard, eh?
Yeah, I think so.
Number 11. And she's really a big, strong player, but she plays extra shifts, and many of them are the 2-minute or longer variety.
Oh yeah, she's their Phil Esposito. She's out there to score goals.
Yeah.
But she does it pretty good. So.
Well, Tom, you've been coaching for years, but our generation, Peter, of when we played and how we were coached, I'm just curious about how it's changed. And are we coaching too much now?
I think it depends. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm observing now. Like I told you, I'm working with a local youth organization, and we're going to be actually next week selecting coaches. We get the process that they do is pretty good. They get the coaches fill out an application every year, whether you've coached or not, and in that is your philosophy as a coach. Then they also do a parental review of the coach. So I'm real curious to see how those two match up, right? How that coach perceives himself
Yeah,
in his philosophy or her philosophy, and how the parents' perception of that do they mesh or not? So that's going to be kind of interesting to see, I think.
I just my dog's whining. I haven't let her out yet. I gotta go. It'll take me 5 minutes to do that.
Sure.
Feed the birds.
Yeah.
now what age level are the coaches doing that at?
So that's it's from Squirt, which is it's U10, U12, U14.
Okay,
So they'll fill out the apps, uh, talk, and they will also get an opportunity to evaluate their players, send us player evaluations for the will be looked at and used in the tryout process.
yeah,
But more curious for me is how the coaches' perception of themselves matches to what I've seen,
yeah,
what the parents say that they have as a perception of the coach.
yeah. What if you were a coach filling it out and you're reading them of others? What are you looking for? What are you hoping for? What do you want to see in their writing?
I mean, I want to see I would love to see it written from the standpoint of this is what my players have been able to accomplish this year. Not this is what I taught my players to do. Rather, this is what my players have accomplished this year, um, and why they have accomplished that. That would give me the insight of what they feel their strengths are as teachers, and based on what they've been able to accomplish. Now, if the accomplishments are just about wins and tournament success, then obviously at those age levels, especially the younger levels, that's a bit of a red flag. So I want to see it. I want to see an individual that says we got from A to B, and it's fine if you won tournaments. We got from A to B, but this is why we got from A to B, because the players were able to do whatever it was, A, B, C, D, etc.
Yeah. Well, I asked one of the U15 coaches that Tom coaches against, what is he proudest of in terms of his coaching achievements? And it was sort of like, why do you coach?
Right.
And the answer he gave me was the number of girls that make the AAA team. And I responded a little differently than most people to it, but what would you say to him if he said that?
I guess my my first to me, what hits me first, Wally, is what about the kids that didn't make it? Why didn't they make it? Because I think naturally there's a certain group that's always going to make it. And it's sometimes it's despite what you did as a coach, not because of what you did as a coach. So I'd be more curious as to why those other kids didn't. What was it? Was it skating? Were they kids that didn't show up for practice? Like what was behind that?
Well, when he told me that, and he's the one that has this one player that's exceptional, and she does play more than the other players, and it's obvious she's going to get to the next level sooner. But my response to him was a John Wooden answer. What did you think of a team? He was asked that. What do you think of your team that had just won their 13th national championship? Do you know what his reply was?
I do not. No.
Ask me in 25 years.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, 100%. You see that all the time, right? You see kids that are maybe really successful at the young age and they disappear, and more so than that, what are they doing with their lives?
Yeah, and that to me is why I do what I do. The kids that are going to go on, like Tom talked about the Heatley lad, how driven they were to score. We can talk about all these people that quotation marks make it. Well, I don't care about them as much as I do about what they're going to be doing when they're done playing. And what are they going to give back, and what are they going to contribute, and how are they going to affect the sport in a positive fashion? And I don't know if it's wishy-washy or wishful thinking on my part, but I think that's why we play the game. That's
right.
why we coach the game at any level, even though winning in the business of hockey is what you do it for. Your job's at stake. If you do it the right way, you're likely going to win. And the character and the drive and the behavior and the work ethic, those are going to be the most, most important factors in what you want to be able to motivate them to do.
Yeah, and I mean, and parents get caught up in it. The kids get caught up in the moment. The coaches do. I know a good coach, like knows the game, really skilled, was a good player.
Yeah.
Had a group of really good veteran players.
Yeah.
Good recruiting class. Really paid more attention to the freshmen, like giving them ice time, putting them in certain roles, which really deflated the veterans who had come off a very good team the year before that. This year, those younger players, many went through what is termed, that sophomore slump, if you will. And the veteran players didn't really progress as a whole. Some did individually, but as a whole, they didn't really progress because they had a year where they were more put on the back burner or just left, hey, you're a veteran, you can figure this out. So it's easy to get caught up in it and not look at the larger picture. And that comes from experience, I guess. I guess you learn from that, right? When you make certain choices and decisions.
Yeah. Well, I'm watching Tom's league. The one team that has not shortened the bench, managed the bench from the beginning of the season, which means creating power play units. I would say within the first month of the season, their practices are the hardest working practices I've ever seen. They're competitive, and their conditioning is a work-rest ratio of 1-2. And between drills or deliberate hard skating with a puck, the players are recovering bent over with their sticks on their knees. They're not recovered. And I would say 80% of the practice is a 1-2 ratio with not enough recovery. But to me, they're the team that seems to be the best in third periods. And they're the one that could be successful because of that approach. And I don't like that because my philosophy is play everybody in the first half. And that almost means rolling them when you've got a group of young athletes. If you do have veterans that were that good before, you just still want people to have an opportunity to play the power play and develop. So at U15, how soon do you stop giving other kids the opportunity? At U13, and when do you draw the line about the role they're going to play and limit them? So I'm really curious about, they can coach to win now, shortening the bench. Carla's team last night, she uses 4 lines, but in the crunch, she's a 3-line team. New York is a 2-line team. In other words, in the third period, the top 2 lines were out 1-2, 1-2, 3, 1-2, 1-2, 3, and they dominated in the third period with those lines, and they could have won, but they didn't. But how you manage a bench to get the results, to me, it's an art. And I just don't know where to start. Right now, parents are quite happy. They're happier if you bag skate their kids. In fact, I've had some coaches tell me that their parents really appreciate them skating them so hard that they throw up. And that's really what I call old school.
But that's where when their parents played, what happened, right?
Yeah. And I'm watching practice, Tom, and looking at everything you do at a game tempo, all the hockey IQ work that's going on. And then I watch the other teams practice differently with deliberate, repetitive, slow drills, and another one with high effective racing and compete drills. A lot of what I would call bag skating with a technical focus, at least stopping both ways with a puck or turning both ways with a puck. But 3 different teams, 3 different coaching philosophies. And in the end, people evaluate on outcomes. I don't. I evaluate, know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And the why of what you're doing is develop everybody and make them be the best they can be.
Well, ever since we started managing the bench, we're 70% and not rolling lines. And the last game we played that team, we dominated the third period.
Yeah.
So, if you have a long view, it's a totally different deal. That girl that now is our best scorer wouldn't be if we'd have done that other philosophy.
Yeah.
So you have to pay attention to science, work rest ratios, and all this stuff if you want to have long-term development.
Yeah.
That's my view, anyways.
Yeah, I think
a lot of guys don't even know, they haven't really studied the game very much, or like I have a phys ed degree, so I have a background in that kind of stuff. So as you do,
Yeah, I think it's important too to understand the level that you're dealing with, right? Like obviously, Wally, what you're talking about a professional team that, somebody's going to get paid to win. So that's obviously going to be coached a certain way. And if you're coaching AAA, there's a different expectation there, down to the town leagues where it's about the having fun and improving the players, but keeping everyone involved, and the success comes from, as a group, individually getting better, which then wins will become a byproduct of that, right? So I think it depends upon what levels that you're coaching at. They all come with a different, unique set of expectations, depending upon, honestly, who your audience, meeting parents, is.
Yeah.
I think part of the issue I see here in the States is that town youth hockey expects, in some ways, it to be like a AAA program, in a way like a bench is managed and certain things are run, which is not the philosophy of a town youth organization. You know what I mean? And I've recommended to people, if the youth organization isn't for you, then you should go try out at one of these AAAs. And if your child makes it and you think that's the path you want to take, like, take it. I mean, if it doesn't work, always welcome to come back, but you don't necessarily, the issue comes with the individuals that try to change the way something is that has been successful.
My,
Yeah,
my
That's the
question,
thing, the philosophy, right? You can't coach like you're coaching pro at non-pro levels.
Right, exactly,
Kind of
exactly.
what you said. Because I know when I'm coaching college and all that, and basically you're paid to win.
Yeah,
And I a lot of that, 4 lines, and if all 4 lines are playing great, but if they aren't, it's 3 lines of the players that are having the best game, and it might be a different 3 the next game, but that's how you coach at that level.
yeah, no, 100%.
You have power plays and you have penalty killers and stuff like that.
Yeah, their struggle is they they blend it all together and try to take, I think, at sometimes points, what they see the most, in their eyes, the most successful piece from something they're watching, and then trying to apply it at a level where it doesn't apply, and not understanding that it doesn't apply.
Yeah, and that I know that's what the complaints here are all about, is the winning and how Susie got to play in the power play, and that's what the parents do and see, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a problem. What I did is I got all the parents after a practice, and I went over everything we do, all our team play, everything we do. And afterwards, it was a whole different attitude from the parents, as far as, just their look at what the expectations are, and for them to understand what our forecheck was and what our penalty kill was and what our power play and all of these kind of things. It was very technical, but a lot of them came up and thanked me after and said, we really appreciate that. That we know.
They appreciate communication, because very often it's, especially the way it used to be, right? You never talk to your head coach. The head coach never talked to the players. The assistant coach was the go-between, and it was very dictatorial. Whereas that's not how you be successful today. It just isn't. And everybody appreciates a certain measure of communication. Might not agree necessarily, but at least there's communication.
Well, at least they know that there's some reason you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
That they might not even understand what you're doing, but at least, but here, that if someone's paying thousands of dollars for their girl to be playing elite hockey, there's a good chance a lot of them played a lot of hockey. And a lot of them, I know a lot of the parents did, including the mothers, they played, and they appreciate that what you're doing. So if you
Sure.
can present it and say, okay, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, it's how we do it, and there's 1,000 things you can do, but you can only do one at a time. You can't have, I know about 5 different forechecks, but I can only use one of them. And so they appreciate that, I think. At least I found they really did it. It really changed the mindset of the parents, because we had a little problem there with this meeting, and it smoothed over all that kind of stuff.
Good.
Tom, I got a question. Would you do that meeting or another meeting at different times? So I'm saying 1/3 of the way through the season, November, would you do a meeting where you explain what you're doing and why?
I wanted to have a meeting before Christmas.
Yeah.
And one of my managers said, no, there's too much going on, blah, 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 blah. So we didn't. And if I would have followed through and said, no, we're just going to have a half-hour meeting, they don't have to have it right after practice. The parents are there anyways.
Yeah.
Because the kids are all too young to drive, so the parents got to drive them.
Yeah.
And, I think that's a good idea. Have one at the start, have one, before Christmas. And then, probably good to have one now, but we don't really have time.
Yeah.
For the playoffs.
See, I think I'm thinking as an association, you have your initial meeting where you sort of set the stage and your, rules and guidelines and scheduling assignments and everybody's volunteer assignments. It's business that has to be dealt with. And it's not really X's and O's, but I know when Sean talked, he talked about his coaching philosophy, and that was it. He was pretty standoffish, and I thought it was really good because he wasn't going to be listening to them that much. And he made that clear that he was going to be coaching the way he coaches, and he picked his team knowing how he coaches. Now I'm saying, Tom, you do that meeting, you had it, and be proactive and have it a third of the way, and then
Like I said, Wally, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, but I think I'm asking you, can we do that with all teams? Because of what you went through, I mean, the crap hit the fan and that meeting after Christmas, and you had to deal with it reactively after everything hit the fan.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't have happened if we would have had the meeting like I wanted in the first place.
Well, it's something we can mandate, the association can mandate. I think there's a need to manage the managers in this case. Peter, in your experience in minor hockey, the role of a coach, and the role of the manager, what Tom and I have experienced is a manager who is philosophically influencing the team, and the coach really isn't allowed to do what they want to do the way they want to do it. What's your experience with managers? In my mind, they were the buffer.
Well, the organization I'm working with and I have worked with in the past, the manager had some basic things like, make sure we know that if there's changes in the schedule for practice coming up, that they knew that. If there's a game change, that kind of thing, that they knew that. That they were also a bit of a sounding board where if you had a good relationship with your manager, they maybe would share some information with you, which then hopefully as a coach you said, well, tell parent X to come talk to me, because I don't want that kind of burden actually being put on the manager. of trying to solve situations, nor do I really want them having that type of influence, because at the end of the day, if it's a question about the team other than the schedule, are we going out to eat afterwards? Where's the hotel? I think they should be talking to the coach about all the hockey related things, be it playing time, skills, philosophies, all those things.
Tom, any thoughts on that? Because you started the year and the manager, unbelievable organizer. Details.
Well, yeah, we started off with a 5-day road trip, and we ended up in a tournament, and it should have been our level, but we seemed to be too good. We were clobbering teams really badly. But what happened, Peter, is I did the philosophy of the girls hockey Calgary and played everybody. Everybody played power play. Everybody played penalty kill. You know, we didn't shorten the bench. So we're about 50-50, and we're losing a lot of games by 1 goal, that if we would have shortened the bench and all this kind of stuff. And some people were getting very upset. I think we lost 4 in a row at one time, but we were still, at 500 or whatever. And our plan was always to, we gave everybody a chance. Because we knew none of these players. We came in as a new team where the other coaches all knew the players. And then in mid-January, we got 2 power play units and put lines together. And now every team has some stars. We put some players out there, to counteract their stars. And we've been 70% ever since. And we beat all the top teams in the last 3 weeks. Like the team Wally played again, talked about, we beat them. We beat the first place team. We beat this team that we're playing in the playoffs twice. So, it's now we're coaching the bench like I kind of would college, right? But we still let everybody play. We don't staple them to the bench. But, but parents were getting upset about this. They'd say, well, why don't they have these guys playing here and these guys? And it was because, of course, we knew who would be more effective. Their solution to everything was put your best player on the ice. But now we have more girls in the top 30 scoring than any other team in our division because they've all played. We don't rely on 1 or 2 players. And, and that was our philosophy all along. But I told the parents there at the start, but I don't think they were listening. And that's why I wanted to have a meeting before Christmas, because it's a good league and it's hard to win without your best players out there all the time. Because it was a new team, they added a team. About a third of the skaters aren't really good enough for this level. So my philosophy our philosophy was to develop those players so that they are good enough for this level. And I think all but 1 or 2 are right now, and we can compete with anybody now. But the important thing was to communicate that to the parents. And so after we had this bad meeting that we kind of got ambushed by one of the managers, I had a meeting the next week with all the parents, set them all down, went over what we do and everything, and now everybody's happy again. So like after practice last night, they're all in the hallway and they're all talking, and they're all talking to us and stuff like that. So
Now the level that you're coaching with those girls, what level is that? I mean, just like here, AAA is the top level. So like what?
Well, it should be called AAA. It's the best bantam girls in the province. There's 12 teams all around the province, and it's the top league.
Okay.
So in the boys the same age, under 15, it's called AAA. And I don't know why it's not called AAA. At this, it's called AA.
Okay.
But it is the best. It's the best girls. So, this is where the players this age, a lot of these girls are going to end up going to college and stuff because they are the best players.
So is hockey Canada's philosophy? Everybody plays. It doesn't matter if we're talking AAA or we're all the way down to beginner or house level teams.
Well, I think their philosophy is, but it's easy to have a philosophy when you're not actually coaching.
Right, right, right.
You know what I- But that's my philosophy. It always has been to develop the team that at the end of the year everybody can, like Peters and Bemidji said, you're only as good as your weakest player. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just let them sit there and be your weakest player all year and not, you know, because and the thing is, the parents are paying a lot of money for these kids to play, and they don't want to come there and watch their kid get 2 shifts a period. Like I know some of the other, there's a team in Edmonton. The coach is an ex NHLer. His daughter, her line, their one player in the line scores 3 goals a game or 3 points a game or something. Like she's leading the league by so much in scoring. They play 30 minutes a game. Now, I wouldn't want to be one of the parents of the other kids that are getting 2 shifts a period and paying like our parents are probably going to be in for about $8,000 by the time the season's over. So you know that's my philosophy, and it's worked over the years. But not everybody agrees with everything you think. So
no, but I mean, it's a good philosophy for sure, because standpoint, like, so that idea that only as good as your weakest player. So if my weakest player is still better than 3 or 4 of their players, we're gonna be fine, right? I mean,
yeah,
if because you're developing that player, and if they're using that philosophy that their weakest players just sit on the bench or barely get a shift, when your player does get against them, they're going to be proportionately better anyway.
and our philosophy is they get to play. So put them on the ice. What was happening when we were just rolling everybody is the other teams. We had one really weak set of D, both first years. One girl's 2 days away from playing Pee Wee. She's born on December 30th. And they would just send their best players out against that D pair.
Right.
And, I ended up moving the one girl up to forward because she just couldn't handle it there. And she's playing pretty good at forward, but she practices a lot on D. Like last night, she practiced as a D and, in the one-on-ones and all this kind of stuff. But, now our team, we can set anybody out and they can at least, 0-0 on the shift.
Yeah, and you're essentially playing your best hockey now the last third or 25% of your season, which is when every coach's dream is, that's when I want my team playing their best hockey.
Yeah, well, we beat the best teams in the league in the last, you know, we beat, so we're in there with everybody, whether we win or not, I don't know. It's always, it always comes down to goaltending. I believe that if our goalie plays as good as a goalie at the other end, we're going to win. We have a chance to win the whole thing, I think. But, it's always goaltending, right?
Yeah, it is for sure.
Don't even need him to steal a game. You just need them to be as good as a goalie at the other end.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Tim, you asked the common question. You're from the U.S., but you said, "Well, what is Hockey Canada's philosophy?" In other words, in the clinics back in the day, they had a module where they talked about what we're talking about. Are you coaching to win, or are you coaching to develop? What's the difference? What's the balance? What's the best way to operate? And in my mind, if people taking these courses were wanting to be career coaches, they're coaching to win, they better learn how to win and build a team, because all they know is shorten the bench. And they may win. And that's what's happened in Hockey Canada with their program of excellence. The best players get to play more than other players in more situations and become pretty entitled young men growing up. And they're not learning how to be good, great people and great athletes. And I believe that we've talked about this mission statement exercise. That module tells you what the expectations are of how you're going to be the best team you can be. And it isn't by shortening the bench too much. It's management. It's an art.
Oh,
So,
for sure. For sure it is. For sure. And I don't know too many people that moved on, that got jobs, and in their resume or in your interview, they talked about, so tell me, how many squirt teams did you coach that won championships? I don't think they really, I don't think that really factored into very much. But how you learn to manage and develop people and individuals and handle situations, that's the difference maker.
yeah. Oh, and the coach has got to deal with not just the players, it's the environment, the culture of the association, the parents of that team, some of them highly motivated and with different expectations for their child, not understanding the best team is going to be what you want to do and develop. It's not winning. The best team in the end should win. And I think if you shorten the bench to win, it happens at some levels, but very rarely. And I go to the Stanley Cup playoffs, the teams that last the longest, their minutes are more balanced than any of the other teams. It's an art of managing your bench to everybody feels valued. So Tom, your team right now, I think every player and parent feels appreciated for what they bring to the team, where they're at and their contribution, and they've earned their roles. And some of them may not be able to handle them as well as we would like, but they understand that and they appreciate the opportunities they're getting. They're not on the pine in the first half of the year. They're not getting 4 minutes of ice time in a game or 6 minutes of ice time in a game, which
And
is
then I'm just thinking, when you're thinking there, I'm thinking of the parents that were watching the practice. Well, first of all, person on the ice helping with the practice won some gold medals and was captain of Team Canada. Her husband was watching. He's the assistant GM of the Flames. The one player that played on the oval for you there, her mom runs a skills program at Winsport. And another parent there, he played at Colorado College.
yeah.
And so there, and Toner's granddaughter was there, and he was the best player at UFC.
Yeah.
So, they're pretty knowledgeable people sitting there watching practice. And I don't know the background. I don't know the other ones that well, but I know a lot of them did play a lot of hockey. So, they're watching there, and they kind of know what a good practice is and what a bad practice is, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I talk to them with a more technical thing, because I know they have a background in hockey.
Yeah.
And showed them that we know what in the world we're talking about and what our philosophy is. And maybe that wouldn't work with some parents that never really did play hockey. But the compliments, a lot of it were the mothers that didn't play hockey. They said, we really appreciate that, because help them understand what we're trying to do out there. And so it's always a tightrope you're walking, eh?
Yeah. Well, I argue that coaches need and have to be appreciated by parents, because they're doing the right things for their child the right way, and there's no abuse of them. And however they manage the bench, you cannot control the outcome. And right now, you're entering the finish line here. It could be a victory and move on to the next set and the next set and the next set. You never know. So philosophically, I just keep reminding our coaches, your job is to make the other team better, the other coaches better. And I'm not worried about the winning. I'm just worried about me being my best. And you're going to make me better. So I'll figure out how you do things and counteract it. And it's a positive challenge. It's not like a woe me if you lose kind of thing, or you're better than me if you win. They're all really good. Like only one team's going to win, but for crying out loud, it's a wonderful league. I've seen even our other U15 team, Tom. They haven't had the success that you've had, but they've beaten the best teams this year, and they just haven't been able to get their act together as a group of young people that play together. And that's part of the challenge of the chemistry of creating a team. It just doesn't involve the coach and the player.
Well, Jim, like I think I sent you the link yesterday. I don't know if you looked at Jim discovered on the Instat. Peter, I don't know if you use that Instat or.
I know it. It wasn't one that we use. It was above our price range, but
Yeah.
I know it. Yeah.
It has. I didn't know that. Jim didn't know that. It has an editor on it.
Yeah.
My son has spent 10 hours making clips of power play, penalty killing, our best player, all kinds of different things. And you can kind of cut things out, you mark them. And then it has an editor with, you can put arrows and highlight, like a.
You can get sucked in. You can get sucked into that, just like the 7 seasons of your favorite television program that you're watching one day.
Yeah.
You can get.
But he did it. The playoffs are coming up, so he did that, and he sent it to all the players, so they could get themselves ready for this. But it's quite the program. I have to get him to show me how to use it. But it's,
Yeah, we had that with ours as well. Where we would do that. We'd clip out, send them mostly positive things, especially day or so before the game, or how they could play, and the choices that they do make. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like when he helped me coach at SAIT, and he'd do the prep, but it was a lot more clumsy, taking video out of the game thing and showing what the other team's power play was and all this kind of stuff. So it's just nice to have a tool that's way easier to use, because I used to do that at University of Calgary. Assistant coach, I had to do the VCR to VCR stuff, and that was tedious as you could ever get, for sure.
Yeah. And ours was good. The one I had when I was coaching at university was we actually gave them parameters, and they would break down things for us. So the next day after the game, the next morning, if I was done at 7, let's say we had a 7 p.m. game, and then we were playing, 2 or 4 o'clock that afternoon on a Saturday. That morning by 11 a.m., I had everything clipped out. I could show you every single shift you had. I could show every goal that was scored, every power play, every penalty kill, every breakout, all
with
shots.
the Instat too.
Yeah.
I get that with Instat, but this is an editor above and beyond that.
Yeah, we had that too. You could also do above and beyond as well. So, but it's just the ability to have that and take that off your plate, so you could actually just look at it, digest it, and meet with the kids instead of having some poor assistant coach up till 2 a.m., right? Shoveling coffee down to stay awake so that they broke everything down like it used to be is a pretty great tool.
Yeah. No, I used to be that assistant coach.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, it's you can spend all your time on that or whatever. I think I've probably told this story before, but when I was with the Red Bulls, we had a similar program, and there's this American coach, and I wanted to go for a bike ride. He said he'd go for this bike ride for me. I said, Gene, and he said, watching the same 3-on-2 900 times. I said, Gene, you can keep watching it, but I'll tell you, your D overplayed the puck carrier and allowed him to get a pass across, and they scored. And you can watch it 7,000 more times, but that's exactly what happened. But he sat at that computer, and I went on the bike ride by myself. So it can consume you too.
Yeah, yeah. Gene's last name didn't begin with an R, did it?
Yeah,
Okay. Irish name, maybe?
yeah.
I think I might know that guy. It's a small world.
Is he coaching in Russia still? He was
I don't know. I don't know. Like, we haven't caught up.
Well, the
Yeah.
last few years he was this running the whole development program in one Russian city. And he called me last year, in the spring, and he was still there, but I haven't heard from him. So I don't know if he went back or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, passionate. I mean, definitely a passionate individual.
Well, he's the hardest working guy I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And he coached with that Walsh. Was it Sean Walsh?
Yeah,
The Maine there.
yeah,
He took over when Walsh's cancer got really bad.
yeah.
So there was a lot of intensity.
Sure was.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a pretty intense guy. Very good guy, but boy,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
really
I-
ran good practices.
Peter, what do you know about Sean Walsh?
I'd never met him. I actually worked for. He since passed away. He was the most recent coach, Red Gendron,
Yeah.
Dennis Gendron up there. I scouted for Red back in USHL days when he was in Indiana, and when he was coaching at UMass Amherst, he would recruit quite a bit of our prep school players. I'd never met Sean, but I know Red had a great relationship with him, and through him, I felt like I knew him a bit. Just all the good things he had to say.
Yeah, I met Sean in Los Angeles. We went there with University of Calgary, the freeze out tournament, and we played in the Coliseum there. And he was coaching Maine, and we ended up playing them in the final. It was on ESPN, but in the hotel, we're all in the same hotel, and sat and had a few beer with him one night and talked. And he was, pretty good guy. He's a really knowledgeable guy.
Yeah.
And I think we also played them. They came and they played us in U of A. I think we played them in Drumheller, in a city about 90 miles from Calgary. And we played Maine there too. But
Tom, American or Canadian?
Huh?
Sean Walsh, is he American or Canadian?
I'm pretty sure it was American, but I'm not. He sounded American to me.
Because
He had that funny American accent.
He came, like, here he is playing games in Alberta against Canadian teams. And my recall of him, Tom, is he would come and watch the conditioning camps that I was running with pros and up and coming young players. And definitely ahead of the curve and doing different things and new things. Some of his drills, I think he had that one back check sequence drill. It was his favorite drill. Just a great drill. Even today, people are using it, but great guy and small hockey world. That's for sure.
It is for sure.
Well, I'm gonna get ready to go out for a lunch here with Carla and her mom and dad, and I couldn't get it working on my computer. It's working on the phone. So, guys, I'm gonna wish you the best, and Thanks for joining up this morning. I didn't know whether I'd be able to get on or not out here, but one more game tomorrow night against Toronto. And Tom, I'm going to be back probably Sunday evening, so we'll chat with you when I get home, and I'll be watching the scores on Flow Hockey and checking into the Alberta female hockey site. So all the best.
All right, good talk, gentlemen. Enjoy the day.
Yeah, good seeing you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you. Same.
Take
Bye
care.
bye, guys.